we had two press conferences. The first one was the nature of the task force that they set up. Because when the task force started, we realized that they were only interested in getting rid of those who use the whole cutlass. That's the ordinary Ghanaian whose livelihood was dependent on the galamsey. And the issue of galamsey became serious, not because the wool and cutlasses issues, but just because it has become so complex that foreigners are now engaged in it. Two, excavators are now being used, heavy equipment. That has resulted in polluting water bodies, destruction of our forests, destruction of our cocoa plantations or cocoa plants. And that is why it became serious. Now, if you set up a task force to just get rid of the hoe and cutlasses and then pave way for your big wigs, then we have a big challenge. And we drew President Nana Akufo-Addo's attention to it. And we must all know this same fight against galamsey led to the loss of Samuel Mahama. So he was just
Maxwell.
Maxwell Mahama. So if you reflect his death and look at what is happening today, you will just see that President Nana Akufo-Addo has never meant to fight galamsey. I thought that should have been a motivational factor to get rid of galamsey, for it to be a mark. And at least we'll be proud that after the death of Maxwell Mahama, there's something definitely has happened in respect to fight against galamsey. Now, our second press conference was when the Forestry Commission mounted billboards indicating clearly in forest areas that reclamation ongoing. However, galamsey was deeply going on. And we came with the details of vehicles, their registered numbers, and when the police picked them up, a directive came from the Flagstaff House, and they had to be released. And we made it clear. And the CEO of Forestry Commission himself came out and said that it's a small fish to direct to fight against the galamsey issues, and that whatever effort he put in, directly from the Flagstaff House, always counter his, and therefore, as a result, he's not been able to carry out his mandate in terms of preserving the forests that we have. Now, let's track to this. Professor Frimpong Boateng, it became clear that it was agenda that was set up by the President, Nana Akufo-Addo, to raise money for his party and therefore for himself to be able to go a second term and have victory.
Where does the president come in here? Because you're also talking about, you've mentioned his name earlier, because this is the man who said he will put his presidency on the line to fight illegal mining. So where does he come in here?
Let me give you two scenarios why he is deeply involved. You are all aware, Honorable Peter Amewu, when he was the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, said he was going to procure 200 drones to fight against galamsey. The control center is at the office of the president because he has personal interests. As we speak, the drone has not been able to discover even one excavator. He said the drone, the control center is there. Two.
But is it, before you go to your two, isn't that how the excavators were seized in the first place, using the drones?
No, it was the task force that did it. And therefore, that is the second phase I'll be talking about. It wasn't the drones. Two, when Anas Aremia exposed Charles Bissiou, it was reported to the special prosecutor. And Anas Aramina Anas was collaborating with special prosecutor to ensure the prosecution of Charles Bishop. All of a sudden, the president set up DNI. They quickly came out with a report vindicating Charles Bishop. All other things being equal, and as a president who wants to fight Galamsey, once the special prosecutor taking over the investigation, you leave him to do his work. You don't stampede him and quickly ask the CID to come out with a report without any input from Anas Aremia Anas. That is clear. And where is this issue coming from? From the Flagstaff House. From the Flagstaff House. Now, Operation Vanguard sees a number of equipment. And President Mama, during his term, realized that the punishment given to Galamseyers wasn't stiff enough. And also seized equipment and products. There was no clarity as to where it should be kept and eventually what should happen to those equipment and products. And let me explain what we call by product. You might go to a Galamsey site, they have finished or they are in the process of purifying the gold or extracting the gold from the sun, and then you seize them, they become products. And the equipment that they use, you have to know how to treat all. So in 2015, a bill was brought to Parliament to amend the Minerals and Mining Act 2006, Act 703. And it was more on punishment and where this equipment should be kept and what should happen to them subsequently. Now, Section 99.5 of the amended Act is very clear that when you seize an equipment, you leave it in the custody of the police. And 2 days ago, I was discussing with one of the interministerial task force, and he indicated that the police said at their police office they don't have enough space. I said that is not what we meant. If you hand it to the police, they can go to a field and pack them. But once it is under their custody, they will get people to provide security. So the Professor Frimpong Boateng did not see this section, and they decided to treat it the way they want. Not for nothing, just because they want to use it to raise enough money for President Nana Akufo-Addo to go for a second term, and of which President Nana Akufo-Addo is much aware of. 2, Section 99, subsection 7 is clear as to what should happen to the equipment and equipment especially. It indicated that, or states that after 60 days, you have to allocate it to a public institution. Ministry of Roads and Highway, Ghana Highways Authority, Ministry of Agri, if it is related to, if they need to take dams and what have you. Then you don't just allocate it, you publish it in the Gazette so that members of the public can make a follow-up to ensure that these equipment have been given to those public institutions. The minister didn't see it. Now, this excavator had been diverted, and you ask that they should arrest those who diverted the excavator. And from there, I have a problem in the first place. You breach the law, and now you say you should arrest somebody who also breach the law. The first person to pick is you, the first person who breached the law. And subsequent to the arrest, then we tapes came out, and it became evident that the big wigs of the party, as we stated earlier, were deeply involved. John Bodu, who is the General Secretary of MPP, is allowed to have a concession. We have indication that the former Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, Honorable Peter Emewu, allegedly took 20 excavators. They are like caterpillars, let me assume. Maybe some people might not know what excavators are. It became clear the minister himself was involved, and many other bigwigs in the party, and he stated that it's needed to take care of the 2020 election. Up to date, have you heard the president said anything? Has the president made a statement anywhere to indicate that I have taken action or I have done this? No. It's a clear indication. And the president need not be given any mandate by the people of Ghana. He has failed us, he has deceived us, he has his own motives for doing that. The Galamsey against, we all signed when they came to Parliament that there was a fight against Galamsey by City FM, and we all endorsed it, not knowing the president had his own agenda in the fight against Galamsey.
Well, a couple of issues you raised, but let me go to the law before I even start asking questions about culpability, because you said that the people in charge have to be answering some questions. Some people have to be fired. The person who breached the law, you are not specific as to who. But even before we get there, was the application of the law in this circumstance not going to be controversial, judging from the fact that some of those people had concessions, legal small-scale concessions that were given to them through legal and due process, that if they took this concession to court and perhaps challenged the decision to seize the excavators, the court was most likely to rule in their favor?
You see, Galamsey is different from small-scale miners. So we have to be very clear. Small-scale miners are legally registered miners. So that is not what we are talking about. When the government gave a blanket ban, we the minority stated that for the small-scale miners who have all documents to prove, they should not be banned. Because based on the approval given from the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources, emanating from the Minerals Commission, the Environmental Protection Agency, they had gone to borrow money to invest in that business. So if you give a blanket ban that included the small-scale miners, then there is a problem. But we've realized that all were done for a purpose, so that the party bigwigs could take over the lucrative concessions. But two, most of the illegal mining by these bigwigs were done in the forestry, in the forest areas where Forestry Commission is supposed to protect. Because mining is not allowed in the forest. That is well protected by Forestry Commission. So we have to make the difference very clear. Small-scale mining, that is illegal, is what we call the Galamsey. There is a small-scale miner, and you have the documents proving beyond reasonable doubt that is a legal document, then you have the right to do your small-scale mining.
Well, having said that, if those equipment were seized from illegal miners, clearly then the way the equipments were treated, like you indicated, you stated the law was in breach of the law. Who should we be holding accountable for such a decision? A decision that were taken on how the equipment.
That's why I said the Minister for Environment and Science, that is from Professor Frimpong Boateng, should have been arrested and he should have been dismissed by now. Because any law we pass, it's not Parliament that generates the law. No. The bill, it generates from the ministry to Attorney General, to the presidency, and then to Parliament. Then when we go through it and do the necessary amendments and then approve it in Parliament, it goes back to the executive to pass it to law. So they've been the generator, the people who generated the bill to Parliament for it to be passed. They should have known better. Two, that is why in every ministry there are technical people to advise the minister, including legal persons. Those who are down the law, they know the in and out of the law, to advise the political heads. And apart from that, that's why Attorney General and Minister of Justice is there. If you have difficulty, you call on them, on the ministry, they will come and help you. So if a minister goes ahead to break the law, he cannot come and tell me that he didn't know about it. No. And therefore, the president should have taken action long time. But because he benefits from the booty, he's unable to talk.
Okay. There's also the issue of the fact that every law that is passed, whenever a law is passed, the law also states explicitly the minister who should be held responsible for a particular sector. In this circumstance, we know that Dr. Frimpong Boateng's involvement is basically by way of an ad hoc committee that was set up by Parliament specifically to fight the illegal mining. But within the law itself, is his ministry supposed to be responsible for such kind of issues?
Yeah, when it comes to Galamsey, it's a complex issue. And the law didn't say that he should set up it. We didn't approve any law mandating him to do that. It was the executive who did it. So we don't have any legal instrument that came to us and we say, okay, we've okayed it. Go ahead and do it. You see, Galamsey is complex because it deals with the environment. Are you getting my point?
Yes, I am.
Yes. And if the president says, okay, I've set up this committee, giving them executive order, and then because it destroys the environment, you, the Minister for Environment, Science and Technology, should be in charge. We'll hold you responsible. You are supposed to make sure that in your operation, it goes along with the law. The Minerals and Mining Act is not just for the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources to implement. No. Do you get my point?
I get your point.
It's a law that we must refer to any time it is in relation to mining, and more especially small-scale mining. And therefore, he being held responsible is most appropriate.
So in this circumstance, it should be the man who has been given the mandate based on that executive order issued by the president.
Yes, but what he cannot do is giving out concessions. Do you get my point?
Yes.
Yes, now behaving like he is the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources. Because the Mineral Commission under Article 269 of the Constitution gave the power for the management and regulation to Minerals Commission. And they have to report to the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources. But if the president set up any committee to investigate or to carry out an activity, you have to operate within the laws that have been put down by this country. And that is the Minerals and Mining Act, 2006, Act 703, as amended in 2015.
So, in this circumstance where we watched a video where he is heard arguing with Mr. Usi over this issue of the party asking him to allocate them a concession. If it is found that during the period where he was supposed to be leading the fight against illegal mining, he was also awarding some interest groups concessions, then
it's a clear breach of the law.
He's in breach of the law.
Yes.
And so he should be dealt with.
That is clear. It's in breach of the law. And it should be dealt with. But President Nana Akufo-Addo is in flagrant breach of the law, not today. As a committee, we have been following President Nana Akufo-Addo and his ministers to bring concessions that they have signed. But as we speak, they have not brought it to Parliament for ratification. All other things being equal, before you give a concession for the company to start, Article 268 is very clear that it must come to Parliament for it to ratify it before work starts. Under President Nana Akufo-Addo, 47 companies are currently working in the mining sector without approval from Parliament. And as a committee since last year, we've been following the minister to ensure that they bring it to Parliament for us to approve. And that is even post-mortem approval, retrospective approval. Up to date, the president is not interested in bringing anything of that to Parliament. They quickly rise that of Exxon Cubic to the Supreme Court for interpretation. You can see the double standard of President Nana Akufo-Addo.
And
47 companies.
The 47 companies we are talking about, are they big scale, small scale, medium scale? What kind of companies are we talking?
Both large scale and small scale.
Okay.
We haven't yet defined medium scale. Both the large scale and the small scale. 47 as we speak.
Then how are you confident that in this case where the law has been flagrantly breached in terms of how the seized equipments have been dealt with, your call for them to ensure that those who have been involved in that are held culpable will be adhered to, will be listened to in the first place?
I don't think it will be taken any serious. Why? As I indicated, the booty is for the benefit of President Nana Akufo-Addo. And the most surprising thing is that even though they are able to trace, they didn't arrest those people with whom they found the equipment with. No. They just went and picked the equipment and left the people free. And that would tell you the level of involvement of the presidency and his appointees. This is a raging issue. We expected that if you found an excavator with an individual of that sort, that individual should be arrested. Then you go and you pick the excavator and you allow the individual to go scot-free. And this I engaged with one of the interministerial task force person on the Class FM. And he admitted, yeah, they found some of the excavators, but they didn't arrest those they found them with.
Honorable, so how should we be dealing with this issue? Because at the end of the day, we cannot start a conversation without knowing exactly what remedies are available. Can we say for a fact that something will change?
I don't see any change. But I can tell you that action will be taken when President Mama comes to power by his grace in 2020. There will be prosecutions, serious prosecutions. And there will be a reform in respect to the fight against calamity. You see, President Mama is a visionary leader. He first of all, after amending it, also brought something called the Mineral Development Fund. Maybe if the proceeds from the minerals, a significant portion goes to the community, and they are able to undertake projects that engages the communities, then it will go a long way to help them fight against galamsey in their area. You understand my point?
Yes.
And when the law was passed, 20% of royalties, mineral royalties.
Well, we seem to have lost Honorable Adams Mutawakili on the line. We just wanted to wrap up with him and ask him two other issues that the minority have been raising. Okay, so he's calling back. So let's get Honorable on the line and complete the interview that we started. Honorable.
Yeah, he said system failure.
Okay. So we lost you there.
Yes.
Yeah. You were making a point about some of the things.
I was making a point. The president was, former President Mama was tackling the galamsey issue holistically. Apart from threatening the punitive measures, he brought another bill that will pass, Mineral Development Fund, and ensuring that 20% of the mineral royalties goes down to the grassroots. They can undertake several projects, plantations, reclamation of the devastated lands, and getting the people business just within the community. When they are making some living, they will help fight against galamsey. You know what President Nana Akufo-Addo did? When he came to power, he reduced the percentage from 20% to 12.5%. And delayed the setting up of the board for almost 2 years. That tells you who this president is, who President Nana Akufo-Addo is. And Mining Africa, he went and was blaming the companies for not developing the mining communities. And on that, we also released a statement. The mining companies are here for profit. They can do their corporate social responsibilities. It's your responsibility that the money you get, you develop the communities. And when President Mahama set up that Mineral Development Fund, what did you do with it? You reduce the amount that these communities should get. So, President Nana Akufo-Addo, once he's the president of this republic, will never take any action. No.
Well, Honorable, I understand where you are standing, because as a member of the minority, you have tried to get some action taken in the past that has not worked successfully. But, Honorable, we have about like 1 year to go. And that's a long time. And we know the effect mining can have on the environment. We know how it can affect the very livelihood of the people who live there. And also, we know how much can be made from mining within this period. So, are you saying as a member of parliament that there's nothing parliament can do to ensure that the current state of affairs is reversed? Because we can talk in the media, but at some point in time, we must move on to other issues.
Let me distinguish between parliament and the executive. Parliament passes laws. Parliament don't have executive powers. Parliament cannot instruct the military, please go and do this. We can always make recommendations to the executives to take action. So we have to be very careful with the powers that Parliament has. Parliament can summon the minister, but the recommendations will be implemented by the executive. Are you with me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Once the executives are not willing to take the necessary action, Parliament cannot be effective in ensuring that the right thing is done. No. And that is why it is on the head of President Nana Akufo-Addo. Then you indicated that it has not been successful in the past. Yes. When President Mama took those actions And that is why when he detected that even the law had a problem, maybe they are not getting the right revenue from those things, he brought those bills to Parliament and we passed. And you never heard that government appointees were busy sharing A or B or C. So that is why I indicated that President Mama was approaching it holistically, looking at all the stakeholders involved in the fight against Galamsey. I believe that if President Mama had been the president from 2017 to date, Galamsey wouldn't have been something we should be talking about. We should have forgotten about it.
One last thing to ask on this particular issue, because you have also raised some questions about the Polugu Dam projects, and also you're also raising some issues about attempts to sell ECG without going through the proper due procedure.
Yes.
So one last question. Would you say the campaign that you signed on to, that I shouted over, that we all thought was going to lead to the cleanup of our environment, has failed, or we have made some, at least some forward march?
It has failed woefully. Why has it failed? Because the main tool why we said we needed to fight was to ensure first our water bodies are clean, so that Ghana Water Company will spend less in treating our water for the earth to drink. It hasn't changed. It is even worse. The turbidity level of the water is very high, worse than before. 2, we wanted to make sure that our forest is preserved. And it's worse. Now they are mining more in our forest reserves than any other government. So we have failed. 3, we wanted to make sure that our cocoa trees are not destroyed. Let me tell you, they have been destroyed more than ever. We have failed. So in the nutshell, the fight against Galamsey has failed.